Now, also, just on Labor and women, here's the ALP pushing its Medicare politicking on Instagram.
Authorised P. Erickson, ALP Canberra.
Now, that clip is a singer called Sabrina Carpenter, apparently, but again, if this was a Liberal Party ad, you'd be hearing confected outrage from Labor, wouldn't you? They'd be calling it sexist or something. So what does the Labor Prime Minister think of it?
The Australian Labor Party posted this on Instagram. We're just wondering your thoughts on it. The Medicare. You don't mind it?
I'm not going to look at a video.
Oh, I guess he'll look at that later. Online, there was plenty of criticism. What are we meant to think when seeing this ad? Asked one person. Sorry, but it makes Labor look like it's back in the 1950s. I'm a supporter, and I hope it's taken down as soon as possible. Another asked, is your social media person 15? And one said, this is cringe. ALP, what are you doing? Look, it's pretty lowbrow stuff for sure, but I can't wait to see what the Liberals might reveal behind Sabrina's towel. They should give it a go, just to see if that draws some fire and exposes the double standards. There's a speech about the Middle East that's getting a bit of attention on social media at the moment. It's not new. This speech was given in America 12 years ago, and it explains the reality of the Palestinian issue that I've been on about for years and which most of the media simply refuses to comprehend. This is a very powerful example of this explanation, of course, because of who it comes from, because of her life experience. So let me share it with you with a bit more context than you get from social media. Noni Darwish is an Egyptian-American author, and she's the founder of Arabs for Israel, and she knows Gaza.
I was born and raised as a Muslim in Cairo, Egypt, but I grew up as a child in the 50s in the Gaza Strip. And the reason I was in Gaza was because Gaza at that time was part of Egypt.
Now, Darwish's description of life in Palestinian schools is all too horrifying, but well known to anyone who's examined these issues.
We recited poetry every day in the school, wishing upon ourselves to die as martyrs. You know, I used to see girls reciting this poetry while they're crying, and they would wish upon themselves to die as a martyr. See, our value system was about victimhood, thinking of ourselves as victims, or to be a martyr, to go kill everybody and die as a martyr, either a victim or a martyr. There is nothing in between.
Now, in this speech, she then goes on to explain how Arab countries deliberately perpetuate the Palestinian crisis. They could solve it, but they prefer it as an irritant on which to blame every problem in the Arab world. Neighbouring Arab countries like Egypt, Jordan and Syria deny citizenship for Palestinians, and they don't accept Palestinian immigrants.
Why? Because the Arab League wanted the Palestinian problem never to be solved. This is not their agenda. The agenda is to keep them refugees from birth to death. Home. That's what the plan was.
Yeah, the Arab nations prefer the Palestinians to keep constant pressure on Israel.
They are rejected from being absorbed and constantly pushed against the borders with Israel in order to keep the problem alive. The Arab world doesn't have a shortage of land. If you look at the Arab world from the Atlantic Ocean, Morocco, all the way to Persia, from Turkey all the way to Sudan.
Now, this cuts to the chase. The Palestinian question could easily be resolved with goodwill from Arab nations. Every chance at peace in the past, every peace initiative in the past number of decades has been rejected. Israel vacated Gaza 20 years ago, forced its own people out of the territory, handing it all over to Palestinians, and look where that's ended up.
You know, this international conflict called the Arab-Israeli conflict really is a fabrication. This is not a conflict over land. And anybody who thinks it's a conflict over land is misguided, because we don't see the truth. The truth is, Arabs, there is something in Islam anti-Jewish, anti-Christian, especially anti-Jewish, and I will tell you why. Those people calling themselves Palestinians who live in the Gaza and the West Bank are the pawns of the Arab world. I don't believe that they care about their happiness or welfare. They are set up to live a miserable life on purpose in order to show the world that we're victims. Do you think Saudi Arabia, with all the money they have, the Gulf countries, all these oil money, they can't give them good roads and good homes and good police and turn it into a productive area of the Middle East? They can, but that is not their objective. There is a hidden objective, and I don't understand why Western culture doesn't get it. Why Western media doesn't get it. It's so obvious.
Yeah, it is obvious to anybody who informs themselves, but most in the media and most in the Western liberal media at least, they're not interested in that. They prefer that victimhood narrative, if you like. Now, Dawesh's father was actually killed by Israeli agents, yet she can still see what's playing out. Now, of course, she's got many critics. This is controversial stuff, but she is right. And there will be little prospect of lasting peace until public debate, politics and diplomacy all faces up to this reality.